has now recorded its 21st COVID-19 related death. The most recent death was confirmed on Tuesday in Tuesday's COVID-19 situation report issued on Wednesday by the Ministry of Health. The report also states that there are 31 new infections amounting to 976 active cases and 1,469 recovered cases. The 21st death is the 8th death confirmed for the month of October. Persons are encouraged to follow all COVID-19 protocols, including the non-pharmaceutical measures. At a brief ceremony on Monday in the margins of the 60th anniversary of the Non-Aligned Movement Summit in Serbia, the Honorable Mark Brantley, Minister of Foreign Affairs for St. Kitts and Nevis, signed a visa waiver agreement with Minister of Foreign Affairs of Gabon, His Excellency Pacome Moubele Boubeya. St. Kitts and Nevis formalized diplomatic relations with Gabon in January 2018. This visa waiver agreement signals the two countries' strong commitment to augment economic and cultural ties that would redound the mutual benefit of their citizens. The reciprocal visa waiver allows nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis to travel to Gabon for tourism, business, or while in transit for up to 90 days without having to obtain a visa, and likewise for nationals of Gabon traveling to the Federation. The police have solved a string of break-ins that occurred in the Frigate Bay area, and joint operations carried out by several units of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force have led to the recovery of a number of stolen items. As a result of the recovery and police investigations, Vaughn Osborne of Connery has been charged for 3 of the break-ins and a suspect in custody in relation to a 4th incident. Sergeant Ray Gordon from the Frigate Bay Police Station disclosed that because of the operations, items from all 4 house break-ins, in addition to other break-ins, have been reported and were recovered. Regionally, in Guyana, Better Hope Health Center reopened on Monday to serve as a permanent COVID-19 vaccination site on the east coast of Demerara. More from Alana Nadir of HDP Nightly News.
The Better Hope Health Center, which has been inoperative since 2017, was on Monday reopened to service residents and function as a permanent COVID-19 vaccination site for the east coast of Demerara. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony at the reopening ceremony boasted that the $25 million health center is fully equipped to serve residents of Better Hope and neighboring communities.
That we have healthcare personnel who would be working here and make sure that they deliver good quality service.
Anthony encouraged residents to utilize the medical resources being offered to them instead of letting them go to waste. The facility is equipped to conduct minor medical procedures as well.
We expect that the services to this community would be improved. We expect that a lot of people here would benefit from these services. And we want the community to come out and utilize the service.
Over the years, the Better Hope Health Center has served hundreds of persons within the community, but was abandoned and left to deteriorate 4 years ago. Following meetings with the Guyana Sugar Corporation and the National Industrial and Commercial Investments Limited, the facility was officially handed over to the Ministry of Health for works to begin.
We ensure that monies were placed in the budget so that we can complete the repairs of this building that we are sitting next to and the one that is at the side of this building. In total, we spent about 25 million Guyana dollars.
Minister within the Ministry of Local Government, Anand Prasad, who also addressed this ceremony, said that the reopening of the health center is yet another demonstration of the administration's commitment to improve healthcare services nationwide. Reporting for HGP Nightly News, Alana Nadir.
And finally, in regional news, in St. Lucia, employees at North American Assemblies who allege that they were fired because they would not get vaccinated have reported the matter to the Labor Department and are awaiting direction from the department on the way forward. More in this DBS News report.
Belinda Bernard-Siraj says she has been working with North American assemblies for 4 years. She alleges that on September 6, they were issued
Internationally, at least 15 people have been killed in China during severe flooding. The floods have affected more than 1.5 million people in the Shaanxi province. Al Jazeera's Rob McBride reports.
With unrelenting rain since the start of October, Shaanxi is said to be experiencing the worst autumn flooding in history, resulting in the destruction of dams, rail lines and highways. There have been multiple landslides, and the Fenhe River, a tributary of the Yellow River, has recorded its most powerful flood peak in 57 years. Emergency teams, helped by heavy equipment, have been racing to shore up defences to prevent more flooding. But already thousands of hectares of farmland have been inundated, 19,000 homes destroyed, and 120,000 people evacuated. Considered the birthplace of Chinese civilization, Shaanxi is rich in culturally important sites and relics, with many now said to be at risk. Shaanxi is also an important coal-producing province, and there have been fears these storms could worsen China's shortage of coal, which has resulted in power outages across the country. Around 10% of mines in Shaanxi suspended operations for a time, although most were pushed to reopen to help coal supplies. But this seems to be another example of the increasing frequency and ferocity of extreme weather events to hit China. These floods come less than 3 months after rains and flooding in neighbouring Henan province killed more than 300 people. Again, rainfall records were broken across the province, with the provincial capital experiencing 200 millimetres of rain in a single hour. Back in Shaanxi province, millions of dollars and much-needed relief supplies have been provided for people affected by these floods. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Hong Kong.
The UK government's delay in imposing a lockdown at the start of the pandemic is one of the country's worst ever public health failures. That is the conclusion of a newly released parliamentary report. The inquiry by members of parliament also found releasing people from hospital into care homes cost thousands of lives. Al Jazeera's Jonah Hull reports.
MPs from across the political spectrum have delivered a damning verdict on the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. In the words of a parliamentary report, it was one of the worst public health failures in UK history. It left vulnerable groups exposed and led to one of the worst outcomes among developed world economies.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Boris Johnson's delay in ordering the first lockdown in March 2020, the report says, cost many lives. It was part of a deliberate policy based on scientific advice aimed at achieving herd immunity, something the government has always denied. And a so-called groupthink among ministers and government scientists, the report says, led to a failure to learn lessons from what other countries were doing.
We took too long to make that decision. I think everyone recognises that now. We should have been able to avoid a lockdown altogether if we'd followed the model taken in Taiwan or South Korea with a much expanded test and trace programme right from the outset. We could have avoided locking down in that first year as those countries did. So that is a big lesson.
Despite being one of the first countries to develop a test for COVID-19 in January 2020, the report says the UK squandered that lead, turning it into a situation of permanent crisis when mass testing was halted in March. By the time a test, trace and isolate system did come along in the summer, it was, say MPs, slow, uncertain, often chaotic. There are moments of praise for the vaccine rollout and the development of life-saving treatments, both involving scientists from Oxford University. But that does not exonerate the government or its advisers for a litany of criticisms set out in what is an almost universally scathing report. Lobi Akinola lost his dad Femi to COVID-19 in April last year. He wants an apology.
This moment here isn't about politics, it's not about saving face. It's about understanding the pain that people are going through and doing what we can to ameliorate that and then prevent it from happening again. And I think you can convey all of that in 2 simple words of "I'm sorry." So the decision to not do that, I think, sends a different and unfortunate message quite loudly.
The National COVID Memorial Wall opposite Parliament bears vivid testimony to the pandemic, and Parliament has now laid bare the extent of government responsibility for those losses. A public inquiry is due in 2022. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, London.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy skies. Winds are a light air of 3 miles per hour. Seas are 1 to 1.8 meters or 3 to 6 feet, with northeasterly swells reaching up to 1.5 meters or 5 feet. A high surf advisory remains in effect for the islands. Weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis today will be mostly cloudy with a 70% or high chance of showers and a 30% or low chance of thunderstorms. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 5:51 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow at 6:04 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your presenter, Shanique Harvey.